$2,000 for a Sea-Doo that was worth $7,000 because of its accessories that you couldn't start because you had to rebuild the motor because it had a leaky crankcase that you had already been advised of before you bought it.
Yes.
So, what did you do?
I actually could not get it started. Ferguson came over to my house. We tried to crank it over, and it has 2 engines, by the way. The number 1 engine wasn't starting. Number 2 is fine. So typically in this case, the engine had a bypass on it, which meant that there was a separate mechanic other than Mr. Fountain over here that actually put a bypass so it would stop the oil from leaking from the crankcase, which in turn you have to take the spark plug out, then put a rag over it.
Just a second. Don't explain the whole thing to me. You tried with Mr. Ferguson there and another mechanic.
No, Mr. Ferguson, the owner, the previous owner.
Mr. Ferguson came to try to doctor up, because he probably likes the way you landscape, to try to doctor up this machine that you paid a lot of money for and that was useless to you, and it didn't work.
That's correct.
So, what did you do next? Did you ever ask Mr. Ferguson for your money back?
No.
I'm just curious. Is that because he's a customer of yours and you've been working for them, and over the course of years, you're going to get your money back from Mr. Ferguson?
Of course.
Landscaping, whatever, one way or another, you're going to maintain his business.
Yes.
See how the story is piecing itself together? So then, what did you do? You still couldn't operate the Sea-Doo for its intended purpose. Where does Mr. Fountain come in?
Well, I happened to notice a new boat shop that opened down the street. And so I contacted Mr. Fountain to come out and take a look at the boat, see if he could fix it.
And?
And he was nice enough to come out and pick up the boat. And that's where the story begins.
Because you see, Mr. McCluskey, what I have to do is figure out who's trying to scam who. So I'm going to ask you, sir, whether this is your signature on this answer that you swore to.
Yes.
I would like you to read the first line after it says, Jody McCluskey, being duly sworn, deposes and says, I do not owe the plaintiff any money. Read that line.
I do not owe the plaintiff, Roger Fountain, any money.
Read the next line.
All right, I was a new boat owner at the time. I called Roger and I was only looking for an oil change. That is
Period. I was a new boat owner at the time and I was only looking for an oil change. That is all that was needed to fix my boat, and I made that clear to Roger before he picked it up. Well, that's not true, Mr. McCluskey. Can I have that back, please? That's clearly not true. You couldn't get the Sea-Doo started. The owner of it came over. He tried a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and you still couldn't get it started, so you couldn't use it. So your boat just didn't need an oil change. Your boat needed to be fixed.